were literally having sex earlier. I'm like on the beach in front of everybody in the middle of the day. And he's like, yeah. Like, he said, oh, you should see it. Like, after 7 o'clock, he's like, people come out here. Somebody will give me maybe $300 and ask, can they use, because he has like he has where he sets up the tent with the beach chairs, which is usually where I am. And then he has this little section toward the back where he prepares the juice. And back there, it has like a little thatch made hut, like he took some of the big palm leaves I showed y'all, covered the roof, and it has like, the 4 poles, and there's like 3 benches in there. And it's like just a little place to sit. So he's like, yeah, people have rented that area from me. They give me $300. He asked me to turn my back type thing, And he says, and they just go at it, like right here on the sand. And I was like, okay. Well, I'm glad you told me, so I wouldn't think I walked like up on an orgy or, some kind of porn flick or something. I'm not uptight about things like that, but I do have my own belief system about, certain things are to be done behind closed doors, right? And I'm not like a PDA type of person. Like, I'm not really with public displays of affection. So, when I see people going over the top, I'm often like, yo, get a room. Like, nobody wants to see all that. But I realize now I'm in a place where people might be like, don't look if you don't like what you see. So it's just interesting, because I didn't picture Gambia to be that way. If you all recall, I talk about when I first arrived, and when I got off the plane in the Gambia coming from Sierra Leone, I was just kind of like, I don't think I'm feeling this place, right? Because I saw a lot of people dressed in traditional Muslim attire. So I thought, for me, that it must be a very religious country, and this people are not really talking about it. But then when I went out that night, I was like, well, hold up. I don't think these are the same people in the club that was in their Muslim attire, traditional attire earlier. But, Gambia is a place that offers you, like, from the most conservative to the least conservative, right? It's like a blend, a real hodgepodge, a melting pot of vibes here. You go from the beautiful prayers that you hear in the morning to the club rocking it out at night. Like, it's that type of place. And the young people just have their own vibe going. Like, they are very open-minded and free-spirited. It's kind of like a free love type thing. And they hooking up like any place else in the world, especially with social media. So my preference is to think that the young couple on the beach were actually a couple, like boyfriend and girlfriend, young lovers, that type of thing. They seemed really into each other. It didn't seem like, he just smashing. They seemed like it was a very romantic thing for them, and maybe they'll be the ones to tell the story about how they've been in love since they were teens. I don't know, maybe that's just my romantic view of what's happening. But I wanted to share that be prepared, right? You might just be taking a walk on the beach and see people having sex. Like, just keep it moving. Don't act like it's something shocking to you. It also made me think about the notion of older Europeans with younger guys. I think that the attitude of sex is a lot different here. And so if people are really free about having sex, they may be thinking, if I'm going to have sex with someone older, they need to pay me for it, right? And maybe the sex industry isn't the way we're looking at it. I don't know. I just know that when it's not a consenting adult, when it's a child, that's when I have an issue, because children can't appreciate what an adult might be manipulating them into. Now, if you're consenting and you're of age and you're very mature, I mean, that's a different story. Do your thing. But I don't like to think that the adult has the upper hand and is manipulating a child. That's a whole different ball game. What I'm talking about here is couples that are hooking up, right? adults, consenting adults, that can appreciate what they're getting into, that are hooking up. That's a different thing. So I don't know, it's just something to think about, that I think in the West, especially in the US, people are kind of like uptight about sex. They do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and they always sneak in, and they always seem like they have a lot of pent up sexual frustration because they really hide what their desires are. In Africa, in the Caribbean, in Latin American countries, there's a different attitude about sex. Even in Europe, sometimes they may even be a little more open-minded about sex than people in the US, I think. Like, I remember hearing about topless beaches and stuff as a big thing in Europe, but it was like a minor thing that you could hear about in the States. I think there might have been one beach in New York back in the day that had where you could go topless or be nude, and I think it was on Jones Beach. I really don't recall, but it usually was a bunch of like really old Caucasian men with, little peckers trying to flash people. It was that kind of nonsense, so I didn't really see too many people of color out there, but that's what they had here. A woman showing her breast, feeding her child is not a big deal. A woman at the beach with just her wrap around her waist is not a big deal. So, I don't know. It's just something to think about. Like, I just thought y'all might want that information about sex. The other thing is, I had another interesting conversation where the brother was telling me how he was involved in the sex industry in his own way, and I don't even know if he realized that he was telling me this, but he proceeded to tell me how he used to be a massage therapist, and